This is a Powerworks podcast short with Glenn Power and me, James Pikeway.
Interesting things that we start looking at, and it's made all the papers. Mercedes-Benz doing a recall. That's Mercedes-Benz. That forget what they're recalling. It's Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
This is catastrophic.
The wording I liked was that I forget the exact wording, but one of the terms they used in the wider press release was that the service brake may become the service brake pedal may not work because the pedal may become detached from the system.
Yeah.
Because of corrosion on the servo. So basically what they're saying is that the vacuum operated brake assist, which all cars have had for decades now.
Yeah.
There's vacuum drawn by the motion of the engine. As the cylinders go down, they pull air and create a vacuum. And as that vacuum also then is stored and pulls on your foot, basically, as you press the brake, it pulls on the pedal. If anyone that's driven an old classic or a vintage car with no brake assist, it feels like the brakes are solid.
Yeah.
Well, they are. But the vacuum from the engine is pulling on the pedal at the same time as you pushing it, which helps you do it. Now, that's a steel tub, basically, nothing more than a biscuit tin that's welded around the edge and has a pipe on it to the engine to pull the vacuum. And there's a rod that goes through it that you're pushing with the pedal. There's a diaphragm, and then that rod that pulls the pedal on the other side of the diaphragm pushes the brake master cylinder, which then gives you the hydraulic advantage on the brake circuit. Somewhere along there's corrosion getting in, and one of those pins is breaking. Now, some of them are 2005.
They're old. Some of these vehicles are not new.
Yeah, so they've obviously had issues here. I would assume maybe an accident where a car said the driver said my brakes didn't work.
Yeah.
And they've investigated it and thought, oh yeah, this wouldn't work. And then they've maybe seen it twice. Or they've said, okay, well, let's see how many of these parts we've changed. And then they've checked and been like, we've changed 10,000 of these. This might be a problem.
Yeah.
So fair play. They've done it.
Yeah.
And manufacturers have to do recalls. And
they happen more than we know.
Yeah. Most of them are proactive service. So when the car's under... I've probably talked before, when a new model comes out in a dealer, certainly in VW UK, for the first 3 months, anything we found, excess grease on a door hinge, dirt patches being more concentrated on certain panels of the body, noise from wiper arms, wiper blades not clearing properly, having to readjust things too often, oil filter caps leaking, bonnets not opening properly, things feeling a bit stiff on opening, closing, buttons that click more than the same button on the other side of the console, whatever it may be. Every single thing we had to report.
Crazy.
And they would make a decision. And one of the ones we had on the Passat when it came out in 2005 was there's a diesel cooler underneath the car, which is just like a cooling fins on a couple of fuel lines. And it was about the size of maybe an A4 sheet of paper cut in half lengthways, and where they were screwed to the body, the vibration from the road, the actual nut would break. So not the nut, but where the nut was on the stud, the part of the cooler that was on the stud that the nut was holding would snap, and they'd fall on the floor, get broken, and diesel would go everywhere. Now, they weren't recalled.
Right.
We did a proactive service campaign on every single vehicle that fitted into this certain chassis number range that had that fitted, regardless of whether it was broken or not. We changed it.
Right.
Wiper motors, we used to put weatherproof caps on because one of the factories that made the cars forgot to put them on.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And the car came in for service. The service advisor would make us a job card, and automatically the VW management system would say recall. Sometimes we'd have cars with 4 or 5 pages on there for proactive service campaigns.
Yikes.
Now on the safety ones, you'd call the customer.
Yeah.
You'd say there's a recall on your vehicle. We need you to bring it in. There's a courtesy car available to you. We'll drop it off and bring the car for you. And if it can't be driven, in this case, I would guess they've had an accident that they found obviously we're assuming, but I can't see how they'd have got to this point. And then they've realized, well, we've changed loads of these.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. Interesting.
And sometimes you get things like a supplier. So Mercedes don't necessarily have a factory making brake servo units. They'll have outsourced that potentially to an engineering company that make them. So that engineering company might have come to them and said, look, guys, you've ordered 50,000 of these in the last 2 years. What's going on? We can't keep up with the demand. Or they might have gone to them and said, there's going to be a production delay on this unit. And they're saying, well, why are we buying so many of those?
Yeah.
Because not everybody knows everything.
Exactly.
And then they'll have looked into it potentially and
start
said,
putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's frightening, actually.
Yeah.